Welcome back to Arise Prime Time. I'm Charles Enyigulu, and I have a guest commentator with me for the rest of the program who's going to give us his personal take on the news and issues of the day. And he's the policy strategist, Arise news analyst, and founder and executive director of Agora Policy, Waziri Adio. Great to see you, Waziri. I'm sure you've been crunching what's been going on with the Supreme Court decision and so on about moving the deadline. Yeah. So suspended but not terminated. What's your reaction?
Well, it's surprising, but at the same time not surprising because there was a case before the Supreme Court. And as you know, the Supreme Court entertains cases around between the state governments and the federal governments, the federal government rather, So in that instance, the Supreme Court is the court of first instance and also the final, court, So, but what has happened is not to say that they have ruled on whether CBN has the power to do this or not, or whether the thing should continue or not. What they have said, maintain the status quo until we start hearing the case.
Right.
And it's an ex parte motion, which also we need to bear in mind what that means. A party goes to the court. They have not listened to the content of the case, right? A party goes to the court and say, give me this order for status quo to be maintained
until you hear the case.
So they didn't invite the other party. But definitely this is something strictly between the federal government and the governments and the state governments that took the federal government to court.
But obviously, because this is a first but crucial stage, because the deadline has been shifted, there are now lots of concerns that this could go beyond the election dates. I mean, further, if they decide that there is enough grounds to listen to this case and to bring all kinds of issues in. I mean, it could affect, and that status quo could be maintained.
Okay, there's something I've been itching to say, and I want to say.
Well, go right ahead.
Right. I've taken my time to read through all the statements by the CBN. The CBN at no point in time has attached this to the election. All these insinuations, imputations about, the CBN, in fairness to the CBN has never officially, I've tried, maybe you have seen it, I've not seen it. Is other people projecting their desires or their readings into what CBN is doing. What CBN has said is that they are doing this for purely monetary and economic reasons. They are not turning to the election. So, I don't think the Supreme Court will be looking at this in terms of is the date to the election close or not. They can look at, okay, yes, there's a deadline of 10th, and now we're looking at this case on the 15th. Do we need to expedite this process or not? That is up to them. But like you also said, the case is going to start on the 15th. The two parties will make their case. And maybe others will also join, and it can go on and on. We never know how to. But I think it's very important to make this point. I've heard so many things, including said here, that this is intended to stop vote buying. I've not seen that as something.
But whether it's intended or not, I mean, the potential for eliminating any form of that kind of irregularity is there, isn't it? I mean, if you change the currency and people have stockpiles of money, and the part of the aim of the central bank is to eliminate monies that are moving around outside the system, and some of that money, corrupt money, some of it to do with, terrorism and all the rest of it. I mean, if that is the intention, I mean, even if it's a collateral sort of a side intention, it potentially has an impact, doesn't it?
Okay, I would like to stick with what I know, which is the intention, the express intention of the CBN, which I think is in order, right? You want to do this. We can argue about whether whether the policy. Looking at the policy by itself and looking at the implementation, those are two different things. But the express intention of the CBN is that they want to do this to encourage, virtual, banking, digital banking. They want to do this to address things like, inflation, which is their remit, to address things like money laundering, illicit financial flows, and things like that. Those are legitimate things.
Yeah, but that
CBN
falls into the category of illicit financial flows, doesn't it?
I think we have to be careful about this, because by the time you drag the CBN into politics, right? And it's very dangerous.
Right.
I think they should just and that is why they themselves. I've seen even from the day the story broke, some people started putting a spin on it. Oh, this is to stop vote buying. By the way, vote is not bought only with money. If people have been around in this country, if people have followed the election in this country, vote buying, by the way, is bad. It should be checked. We should use the appropriate instruments to fight it. Right, but if you start, throwing monetary policy into that, that's a very slippery terrain.
Right. Well, anyway, the INEC has also complained about this cash business. It said it needs cash to pay for a lot of things on election day. So the issue of Naira, being big concern to the Electoral Commission, but I understand that they're now saying that the two issues of cash crunch and petrol shortages have been resolved, presumably only in the context of INEC and its work. So to that extent, that's good news. But of course, beyond INEC, this policy could also affect ordinary voters, couldn't it?
Absolutely. And if you go back to even the theory of vote buying, right? If you have charts, right, you are a well-to-do person, right? But don't let us think that most of our people are like that.
Who says I'm a well-to-do person?
Yeah, it's very apparent.
Please.
Right. But the point I'm trying to make is that, if somebody who is not well-to-do, who is upright, has his money in the bank, right? Because the fact of the matter is that majority of the people have deposited their money, right? But you can't find the money to use for your daily survival, right? If you don't have that money, that makes you more vulnerable to even the vote buying that you're talking about.
That's a very good point.
Right. So we have to be careful about the issue. And I've seen various attempts to scapegoat, to demonize bankers and all of that. No, the issue is the scarcity. Let's address the scarcity. And, everybody knows that the mint, this money is being printed locally. The mint has restricted capacity. If the mint, prints for a whole year, there's a capacity. There's a limited capacity for what it can do.
Okay.
Right. So that is the problem, and it's very important to address that rather than be, look at it. Banks are shutting down.
Yeah.
Is that what you want to do? And you have people who have money that cannot. By the way, I support this policy. I think is a good policy.
Okay.
But the implementation is something we need to look at, and we should do something that I'm not saying whether they should extend it or not.
Very quickly, we've got 10 seconds.
Not that whether they should extend it or not, but make this cash available,
right?
So that you don't cripple the economy, you don't further pauperize people.
That's a very good point. Waziri Adio, policy strategist, Arise News analyst, and founder and executive director of Agora Policy. Always a delight to talk with you. Thank you very much indeed. That's it for this edition of Arise Prime Time. Join us again tomorrow. From me and the entire team here in Abuja, bye-bye, and thank you for watching.